Getting a modern port of Terranigma was not on my bingo card for 2026. Comment bingo below if it was on yours. Comment Terranigma is my favorite if it wasn't.
Please comment.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Dollar Games, and I can't believe I'm making this video.
Hey, somebody pinch me.
I never really thought I would get the chance to talk about Terranigma in a way that wasn't part of a list about incredible games we never got in North America. But here I am, talking to you all about how excited I am that freaking Terranigma was announced yesterday. So, if you haven't been living under a rock for the last handful of days, you might have noticed some stir online after Clear River Games started hinting at a special announcement during the Pixel Arcadia presentation. And Pixel Arcadia itself is a brand new presentation this year, so I don't think anyone really saw something like this coming. Well, other than the people working on the presentation and the port of the game, they knew, and they hid it. They hid it so well.
In fact, you specifically hid this from us.
So with that, let's talk about the game, the announcement, and everything we know so far. Wait a minute, hold up. Before we talk about the announcement, let's talk about Terranigma in general, because if you've never played this game, there's a good chance you're wondering why people like me are losing their minds right now. Terranigma is the third and final game in what fans usually call Quintet's Heaven and Earth trilogy. Following Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia, it was originally released on the Super Famicom in Japan in 1995, with Enix publishing the game. And it later made its way to PAL regions, but for whatever reason, North America never got it. And that has always been one of the frustrating parts about Terranigma, because we actually did get Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia over here. Then Quintet went and made what I personally think is the best game of the three, and one of the best games on the SNES, and somehow, that was the one we missed out on. The game itself is an action JRPG where you play as Ark, a troublemaking kid living in the village called Krista. After opening a mysterious door he definitely was not supposed to open, he ends up setting off on a chain of events that sends him on this massive journey to restore the world. And when I say restore the world, I mean that pretty literally. You're resurrecting continents, bringing plants and animals back to life, and eventually helping civilization rebuild itself. In terms of gameplay, it takes the action RPG foundation that Quintet has been building with Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia and pushes it even further. The combat is incredibly fast and flows so well, especially for a game that came out in 1995. Even compared to some action RPGs nowadays, it still feels surprisingly good to play, which is kind of wild. Anyway, that's enough ranting about the game in general. Let's talk about the presentation today. The people running Pixel Arcadia knew exactly what they were doing because they started the show off with this trailer. And everyone I knew was tuning in for it, so I'm glad they didn't make us wait and gave us what we wanted right off the bat.
I wanted it more than anyone.
The trailer starts off with flashes of key art from the game and a voiceover giving us a little taste of what the story will be.
This tastes good.
When I first heard that voiceover while they were teasing this reveal, I might have gotten my hopes up a little too high because it had me thinking we were going to get full voice acting and a version of the game that was a lot bigger than it actually was when they showed it off. So my feelings on this announcement are definitely a little mixed, but that might change over time as we learn more. I'm just so happy that this game is finally being re-released after 30 years, which is wild to think about it. It took 30 freaking years for Terranigma to come back.
Why did it take so long for you to come back?
Now, I remember being a kid exploring emulation on my family PC and randomly coming across this game without having any idea what it was. I booted it up, I fell in love with it, and it became a game I would replay almost every year. Until I became an adult and I realized just how little time we actually have to replay all the things we love. So seeing this game finally get ported to modern consoles, or really anything that isn't a Japanese or European Super Nintendo, frankly feels like a miracle at this point.
Lord, it's a miracle!
I'm especially happy to see members of the actual team at Quintet involved with this release too. I've seen posts from some of them over the years and I know they've wanted to see this game released again to the world. I was always just a little skeptical on whether it was going to happen, but here we are. What makes this re-release even better is that, that original team that's joining back in, they're going to be contributing new content. Masanori Hikichi and Miyoko Kobayashi are arranging new versions of select songs from the soundtrack, which is awesome to see. And if you haven't listened to Terranigma's soundtrack before, you definitely should. It doesn't get talked about nearly enough, but it's incredible and deserves way more love. We're also getting Kamui Fujiwara back, who worked as an artist and key character designer for the original game, creating new key art and character designs for this release. I'm guessing most of that will probably end up in an in-game art gallery or something, but you never know. Like I said earlier, I'm really happy to see this miracle port actually happen, but I'm also a little worried about what we're getting, or more importantly, what we aren't getting with this release. I know a lot of people online are already annoyed with the level of effort that seems to be going into it. Now, based on what we've seen from the trailer and the information that's been shared online, this looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward port of Terranigma with very few changes to the core game. And that isn't inherently a bad thing because, again, this is a game that never even came out in North America. So just seeing it officially exist here is already huge, and I'm really hoping we get a physical release too. But since they aren't turning this into a full remaster or remake, I really wish they would have taken the opportunity to make this a collection that included Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia as well. Those games are also amazing, and they're still stuck on the SNES, so outside of emulation or owning the original cartridge, it's not really easy to play. Having all three games together in one modern collection would have been perfect. I'm not sure if that's something we'll see down the line, but it definitely feels like something they should have at least considered for this release. Now, when it comes down to the updates and features for this release, they really haven't announced anything specific yet. So who knows exactly what we're going to be getting here. What I can tell from the footage and screenshots though is that we aren't getting widescreen support, which honestly doesn't bother me. With retro style games, I'm already a little worried about how they handle scaling and whether they can keep everything pixel perfect without introducing shimmering pixels or anything else that makes the game look worse than the original. So keeping that 4:3 aspect ratio is definitely not a deal breaker for me, and I'll probably prefer that. Also, whether they add things like CRT filters really doesn't matter to me. I never liked using them since they never look quite right when you're on an HD or 4K screen. But there is one thing I'm a little worried about based on the screenshots, and that's the borders. A lot of these retro ports do this when they keep the original 4:3 aspect ratio, and I don't mind having borders in general, I just want the option for them to be black. Whenever they have some kind of design or bright color around the screen, I find it distracting and it takes me out of the experience just a little bit. Who else feels like that? Let me know in the comments if you do, because from all the screenshots we've seen so far, I'm only seeing these design borders or this really bright blue one, and I already know that might drive me nuts after a while. So I'm really hoping there are a few options included, especially a simple black border. So one thing I noticed in the screenshots is this new little window to the right of the game screen that shows your XP until you level up, how much money you have, and what looks like a really nice addition where you can toggle through your powers or items. At least that's what it looks like from the screenshots. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to customize it or how deep that feature actually goes, but going into the menu and changing anything in the original game was definitely not the best experience. So it's nice to see them actually improving that. Alright, I think it's time I talk about the one thing I'm most worried about. Again, we don't know exactly what they plan to do with all the features or changes in this release, so I'm really just airing my worries out to you all. That being said, I'm worried about the translation and whether they're going to use the original one or actually retranslate the game. The original translation is known for being pretty rough, and honestly, that just speaks to how amazing Terranigma is. Even with a bad translation, this game still manages to build a huge following of people who absolutely love it. So can you imagine what they could do with a proper retranslation that actually does it justice? Well, hopefully we won't have to imagine it and they actually do retranslate the game. But from the lines of dialogue shown in the trailer, I couldn't really tell if any of the work had been done to the script. For me, this would be a huge miss if they leave the translation untouched. Everything else they add, whether it's new features or quality of life improvements, would basically be icing on the cake. But if they keep the original translation exactly the way it is, I honestly don't know what I'll do because they already have fan retranslation patches out there that can give you a much better narrative experience. I'm definitely going to buy the game to support this release, especially if there's a physical version I can put on my shelf. But will it actually be the best version of Terranigma to play? If you're looking for a very authentic experience that stays close to the original Super Famicom release, then yeah, this will be the way to go, as long as they don't change the translation. But if you want to experience the story in a much better way, then maybe playing a fan retranslation patch is still the better option while also supporting this official release. That is, if they don't retranslate it. Either way, I really hope we learn more about what the package is actually going to include. But ultimately, I'm just happy to see this exist. I'm happy to know Terranigma is back and that so many people are finally going to have the opportunity to play it. Let me know in the comments if you're picking this up and what you'd love to see them do with this release. I know this game is going to be a day one dollar, so no matter what, I'm sold.